Welcome to Times of Refreshing. Take a moment to pause, breathe, and be spiritually nourished as we journey together through this week's devotional. We're in a powerful series called The Power Within, exploring the ministry of the Holy Spirit in the lives of believers. Our focus, the book of Acts, an incredible account of how ordinary group of people with no wealth, status, or technology became a movement that turned the world upside down. Picture this. Christianity began with a handful of followers. No political influence, no media platforms, no vast resources. Yet, it spread from Jerusalem to Rome and beyond. What was their secret? The power within. The Holy Spirit was not just present, He was the driving force behind everything they did. And here's the good news. The same Holy Spirit is at work in us today. And when we truly understand His ministry, we too can walk in boldness, purpose, and supernatural power. As we journey through this series, we encourage you to dive into the book of Acts and discover for yourself how the Spirit moves in the life of every believer. Now, let's get into today's session.
Welcome back to Times of Refreshing. We're so glad you've joined us again. Last week, we talked about the importance of seeking the Holy Spirit's guidance in our daily lives. But before we dive into today's session, Aggie, let me ask you, have you been intentional about inviting the Holy Spirit into your day before starting any task?
Great question, Matt. Honestly, it's something I try to do. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, but inviting the Holy Spirit right from the start sets a powerful tone for the day. He's not just an occasional helper. We need Him in every area of our lives to truly live out God's will.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about the Holy Spirit, the Father's promise. In Acts chapter 1, Jesus tells His disciples to wait in Jerusalem until they receive the Holy Spirit. Why did they have to wait? Why didn't Jesus just make sure they were filled right then and there as He ascended?
Well, Acts chapter 1 verse 4 tells us that Jesus specifically told them to wait for the promise of the Father, which you have heard from me. I think Jesus knew that without the Holy Spirit, they wouldn't be able to fulfill the mission He gave them. They needed His power to teach, to preach, and to witness.
That's right. It wasn't just about doing church work or preaching. It was about walking out God's purpose for their lives. Without the Holy Spirit, we can't do that either. Whether it's in our churches, at work, or even at home, we need His empowerment in everything.
And waiting for the Holy Spirit required patience and trust. The disciples had to believe that God would fulfill His promise, even when they didn't know exactly when or how it would happen. And I think that's a question we all need to ask ourselves. Do we trust God to fulfill His promises in our lives?
That's a big one. It's all about trusting God's perfect timing, right? I mean, what about the idea that the Holy Spirit can't be manufactured? He's a gift, not something we can control or manipulate.
Oh, absolutely. In Acts chapter 8, there's this fascinating story of Simon the sorcerer in Samaria. He amazed people with his magic tricks and they thought he had the power of God. But then when he saw people receiving the Holy Spirit, through the laying on of hands, he tried to buy that power.
Yeah, instead of asking God for the Holy Spirit, Simon thought he could just buy it with money. But Peter shut that idea down real quick, didn't he? He said, God's gift cannot be bought.
That's right, and 1 Corinthians 12 verse 11 reminds us, all these are the work of one and the same Spirit, and He distributes them to each one just as He determines. We can't buy, earn, or control the Holy Spirit. He's given to us when we open our hearts and receive Him in God's timing.
So true. That's such an important point. Now, the big question for all of us, are we truly open to the Holy Spirit's work in our lives? Are we willing to wait on Him and trust that He'll move as He chooses?
That's where it gets challenging, isn't it? We can't just dictate how and when He should work. We need to be willing to surrender, trust Him, and let Him do His work His own way.
Exactly. And I want to encourage everyone watching this week. Take some time to pray. Ask God to fill you afresh with His Spirit. Invite Him into everything, whether it's big or small. Let Him lead you in all things.
Absolutely. As we close today's session, let's commit to waiting on the Holy Spirit. Trust in God's perfect timing and allowing Him to move freely in our lives. And make sure to join next week as we continue exploring the power and presence of the Holy Spirit in our walk with God.
We're so glad you've joined us today, and until next time, stay refreshed in His presence.